Do Hawaii locals resent tourists? You know, ever since the shutdowns through COVID, there's been a change in the way that Hawaii Islanders feel about visitors. And the change has not been positive. So I'm going to talk about what I think is going on, why it's occurring, and it's probably not going to be what you expect. Aloha, I'm Peter Kay. I've been living in Hawaii since the 80s, and I connect with other people that want to live in Hawaii. So if that's you, this is your channel. Get subscribed and get the notifications. We come out with videos about every other week. So why is the attitudes of Hawaii Islanders changing towards visitors? Some people think that it's one of these resentment of have versus have-nots. And this came from Carrick of Roseville, who got us thinking about this topic. Is there social stratification between the tourists and locals, and do the locals resent this? The quick answer is no. I don't think there is any in Hawaii. See, what's going on is that Carrick is reflecting mainland thinking. You know, where you've got this resentment, this class resentment of the haves versus the have-nots, right? The millionaires and billionaires, right, that people are always railing against. And that's just not the case with the Islanders that work in the visitor industry. You know, in fact, many in the visitor industry are immigrants.
They're not seeing their life as stratification. They're here, you know, living the American dream. I mean, making money, sending money back home to wherever they came from, maybe buying property and, you know, really advancing their lot in life. And so it may seem to somebody from a different, you know, social status that they're not as well off as they are. But in their perspective, I know plenty of immigrant families who are super stoked to be here.
By the way, we are going through a really cool drive here, man. We're going through this awesome jungle drive. So I hope you enjoy it. One of the things I love about Hawaii, and Honolulu in particular, is that, you know, you could just slightly removed from the city, you could be in this place where, you know, you're in the jungle. It's totally cool. So as Dylan has pointed out, Hawaii, thankfully, does not have this widespread class envy thing going on. And it's certainly not against tourists. But there is definitely a vibe. It has definitely changed, and it has definitely changed for the negative. What is it? I think it's two things, and Scott identified them.
You know, we went through a time period where we all reevaluated how we want to live our lives. And
first, you know, we as Islanders, we're in kind of a state of shock. Because, you know, in 2020, when the COVID lockdowns first started, you know, we had the island all to ourselves. There was nobody here. And, you know, most of us, for the first time in our lives, had this completely unspoiled, unfettered Hawaii. Look at it right over here, like this, you know, all to ourselves. It was amazing. Completely empty beaches. Beaches that were mobbed were now empty. So all we had, just the whole thing was to ourselves, to our friends and family. All of us who lived here, it was all locals, no visitors, all to ourselves. That was amazing.
We went through this calm period, this really quiet period.
And then tourism opened up and bam!
Now we've come back, roaring back.
Crowds are all back, right? The places that were once ours and ours alone now are mobbed. Traffic everywhere, crowds everywhere. Back to normal. Back to normal, back to what it used to be. In some ways, it's worse than what it used to be for a couple of reasons. Because labor and COVID shutdowns and things like that, there's not as many like tables available at a restaurant, so the wait is longer. You got to get a reservation now. There's more crowds, there's less capacity, longer wait times. So in some ways it's worse. But it's not the crowds that we're complaining about. That's not the problem. It's not that we once had this to ourselves and now we have to share and we're mad about it. It's not that. That's not it. Look, one thing's for sure, if you live in Hawaii, you know about the crowds. Crowds are reality. So it's not the crowds. So what happened? I think the straw that broke the camel's back can be summarized in one word: disrespect. For some reason, it seems like when all the visitors came back, there was this increased level of disrespect.
And then it gets compounded by a few people, or a fair amount of people, handful of people that don't respect the place and the culture and how you need to behave yourself when you're in somebody else's home or in another environment.
It seems that way. I don't have any statistics to back it up, but that's what seems to have happened. Maybe it's because the tourists were like, blowing off steam and they're finally out, everyone's so glad to be out of their house and they're just like, whatever, going for it. Or, who knows? I don't know what people's motivations are, but I can say that it definitely feels as if there was an increased level of disrespect of the culture, the people, and the land. And when you combine this with the overcrowding, not so much the overcrowding, but when you combine this with, we used to have this place all to ourselves. It used to be that there was nobody here. And now all of a sudden, not only is it crowded, but it's crowded with a bunch of people that are basically not nice, not respectful. And Hawaii culture, if you really want to get a local upset, disrespect. Respect in local culture is a very high value. Any kind of disrespect that is shown, maybe it's because of our Asian roots, the Asian part of our culture, I'm not sure. But one thing's for sure, disrespect is a big deal. It's very highly held. And not respecting others, man, you are going to be on the wrong side of an argument with disrespect. You might say, well, what do you mean by disrespect? Okay, there's a bunch of examples of disrespect. And a lot of it's been broadcast out on social media. So that's probably another component too. We had social media before, but social media is really amplifying this, and the media is picking it up, of course. One idiot does something disrespectful, and the media picks it up, it gets on the story, and now everyone's pissed off. And of course, social media, it spreads like wildfire, right? One idiot went and touched a monk seal to get a selfie, right? Bad idea. You're disrespecting the environment. You're disrespecting animals, wildlife, protected species. Big deal, big no-no in Hawaii. And you do this because you want a selfie? Yeah, well, guess what happens? This thing goes viral, it gets in the media, and everyone's completely outraged. Rightly so. Or like this one, part of the overcrowding, in Maui on the road to Hana, there's these beautiful waterfalls, right? They're just gorgeous. So what are visitors doing? It's a 2-lane highway, not unlike this one, and they're not pulling over in a place, they're blocking traffic. They're blocking traffic to go look at a waterfall. And it's not just like blocking traffic like at an intersection, you're blocking traffic on a 2-lane highway there's only one way in and out of the town of Hana. And you're blocking like the whole thing or half of it, your lane, because you want to get a look at a waterfall? That's disrespectful. And of course, it goes viral, goes on social media, everyone knows about it, and everyone's pissed off. So do islanders resent visitors? Wrong question. Do islanders resent those that disrespect our people, our culture, our land? Heck yes. Do islanders resent those that act like some sort of entitled royalty, like we exist here to serve them? Heck yeah. A lot in the visitor industry have said that they are really getting increasingly disrespectful treatment from visitors. Do islanders envy visitors in some kind of twisted class warfare, have versus have not situation? Absolutely not. In fact, I don't even think it enters people's minds. Hawaii is this great mix. What I love about Hawaii is we have a beautiful integrated society where yes, there are various districts, and yes, there are the wealthy parts, there are the wealthy districts and the less wealthy districts. Yes, we have all that. But it's not a stratification. It's not a them versus us. Any given neighborhood is really well integrated. It isn't like on the mainland where you got the white neighborhood and the black neighborhood and the Chinese neighborhood and the Italian neighborhood. Don't have that here. It's really well integrated. There's some general trends, but for the most part, it's really well integrated. And one of the reasons why I love Honolulu. So what does this all mean to you? What advice, what's your takeaway here? Learn about the place you're going. Take a genuine interest in learning about the people, the culture, the land, the values, and most of all, especially in Hawaii, respect. Respect. Here's what I want the locals who are watching to do. Put in the comments my idea about respect. How much does respect matter? How much it factors in the culture? Tell them so that they can all see it. Because, you know, we all know this in Hawaii. If you give respect, you will receive respect many times over. If you give disrespect, you are gonna, as we say in Hawaii, you get lickings, which is you're gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble. This whole idea of respect is something that, thankfully, thank God, I learned this early, despite myself. And, you know, I've been here since the 80s, and I am living the dream, man. All right, you got a question for me? I got a form in the comments. Enter the form, give me your comments. Make sure you tell me where you're from so I can give you credit, like Carrick. I'm Peter K. And Hawaii has taught me so much. It's taught me how to live with respect and love. I hope that you can too. Aloha.